The dark descends. In the frostbitten belly of Ukraine, far from the city lights and steel towers, lay the forgotten mining town of Zorin, population 247, give or take. 3 rows of crumbling flats, a schoolhouse, a chapel, a rust-stained coal line that hadn't run since '84, and an alehouse that never closed, even when the pipes burst in winter. The people were hardy, quiet. They knew coal and cold. That was enough. But on the first night of December, something new came. Something they couldn't explain. It rolled in from the eastern tree line, just before midnight. A thick black smoke that moved like it had purpose. It didn't rise from chimneys or swirl with the wind. It crept low across the snow, silent, oily, and unnatural. Maxim, Max to everyone but his babushka, was the town's only policeman. He'd seen drunks, wolves, a suicide, even a wedding knife fight, but never this. He was halfway through his 3rd cigarette when he saw the smoke touch the first farmhouse. By morning, the house was empty. No bodies, no signs of struggle, just plates still warm, and a dog frozen stiff in the yard, eyes wide with terror. They rang the mayor. The mayor was drunk and said it was fog. By nightfall, 3 more homes were gone. Not burned, not collapsed. Gone. Just footprints in the snow, walking into the smoke, and none coming back out. People whispered. Some said it was chemical testing. Others, radiation. The internet didn't help. Rumors of secret Russian experiments, Soviet-era gas weapons, buried in old bunkers, even talk of something alien, something that watched. One man said he saw eyes in the smoke, red, glowing, and by morning he'd clawed half his face off, trying to get something out of his mouth. Then the first child vanished. A girl named Katya, just 9, disappeared from her bed. The window still locked, from the inside. Just a dark smear on the windowsill, like soot or blood. The villagers packed. Max tried to lead an evacuation. A convoy of sputtering cars, hay carts, and one old bus, with no windows. They headed west, towards the river bridge that led to the next town. But the smoke was waiting. It drifted over the bridge like a living thing. The first man to run across began coughing up black foam before he collapsed. They left him screaming. So they returned. The elderly were the first to go. Their hearts gave out, or they froze in their beds during blackouts. The schoolhouse became a morgue. The church stopped ringing its bell. Soon the children were next. Some walked into the smoke. Others simply disappeared, their beds still warm. One by one, the laughter died out of Zorin. No crying, no goodbyes, just silence. Max and the last remaining men, farmers, 2 teachers, and a pair of off-duty soldiers, barricaded themselves in the alehouse, sleeping in shifts, rationing vodka and tinned meat. Outside, the smoke circled the building day and night, tapping at the windows like curious fingers. Then, it got into Yuri. He began whispering in Russian, even though he only spoke Ukrainian. Said things like, "The air wants us," and they're listening through the snow. That night, he bit off his own tongue and died laughing. That was when Roman, the old gas worker, made a decision. The alehouse was built over an old Soviet-era gas main. They used it to heat the entire square once, before it got condemned. Roman waited until night. When the smoke grew bold, crawling under the doors, coating the walls with damp soot, he opened the valve, lit a match, and said a prayer. The town center exploded. The fireball lit up the valley for 20 minutes. It could be seen from Mikhailivka. It was the only time the smoke backed off, just for a moment. The next morning, Zorin was gone. No survivors, no buildings, just ash, glass, and static on the local radio. The next day, the cover-up began. The media said it was an accidental explosion, gas leak, faulty Soviet infrastructure, a local tragedy. Russia sent no aid. No one came to collect the bodies. But the surviving villagers from Mikhailivka swore they saw something in the sky that night. A dark sphere, too silent to be a helicopter, hovering above the smoke before vanishing like it was never there. They weren't believed. A year later, in 1991, the USSR finally fell. But years later in 2022, as Russian tanks crossed into Ukrainian soil, the smoke returned. This time not in one town, but many. Chernihiv, Kherson, Donetsk. Black clouds that moved against the wind, swallowing children first, sparing no one. No alarms, no warnings. Satellite footage was always blurred where the smoke appeared. No thermal heat signatures, no chemical residue, just darkness, a black void. American scientists called it a phenomenon. Ukrainian fighters called it a curse. Refugees called it the breath of Zorin. But the pattern was clear. Wherever the smoke descended, invasion followed. And those who saw the smoke and lived, they changed. Some forgot their names. Others refused to speak at all. And one boy, found alone in the Carpathians, stared into the camera and whispered, "It lives inside the war." And maybe it did, because no mask worked, no bomb stopped it, and no one knew whether it was Russian science gone wrong, or something older, darker, and no longer waiting in the shadows. They thought Zorin was the end, but no, it was a test, and just the beginning, the end.